2024, now we're all looking forward to getting some more seed sowing done. But it is very early to think about that too much at the moment. Normally in January, I'd make a what to sow and grow video, just so people can see what they can be doing between now and February. And there's not really a lot of anything that you can do in January. You can still be planting your little fruit bushes. If you did manage to get hold of some of those cheap, you can still be sowing your onions and your broad beans. And in January, if you can get hold of some shallots, you can start putting those bulbs into little pots to grow on. Something like that would be perfectly fine. Little 9cm pots, and just push your bulb in. Just leave that top bit sticking out and they'll grow on, ready to be planted out when it gets a bit warmer. We're still concentrating on doing things indoors at the moment, because at least we know that's a safer environment than it is out here. And we've had some very strange weather over Christmas holiday and New Year. Some really bad winds and a lot of rain, which is coming back again this afternoon. So the weather is a little bit up and down to start making too many plans when it comes to actually sowing seeds. We've got things that we've been growing since the beginning of autumn, and we'll be harvesting those sometime in early spring. We have had a little bit more advancement on us broad beans though. These are the ones that were taking so long to germinate, and now you can see we've got a bit of growth. But we've got 7 decent looking plants, so we've got the start of something. We just have to keep covering these up because they're just a favourite to slugs. And we've only had 1 out of the old 8 that we planted that's not actually come up. But I'm quite fine with what we've got at the moment, so we'll just keep leaving these to grow on a little bit more. We've got a little bit more growth on this multi-sown beetroot and spring onions. They're holding their own. That's all that matters at this time of year. Everything's going to grow really, really slow. And the exact same story with those sweet peas. But we've got quite a lot of plants there, ready for early spring. Other than that, it's just the things that we're doing indoors. We were overwintering some peppers, and I was asked about those last night. I put those in greenhouse because we had a couple of days where, although it were a bit windy and raining, we kept getting a few bursts of sun, and I forgot to bring them back in. So as a result of that, all the leaves fell off those plants, and I'm not sure that they're going to make it, but we'll see how they go. On an upside, the peppers that we've been germinating indoors on an heat mat have done even better. Last time we looked at these, there was 6 plants out of 12 that had come up, which is better than nothing. But over the last few days, we've had a bit more. And you can see there, we've got some nice little pepper plants that's come through. And then every now and again, we'll get a couple that come up. And that's what I've been doing with these over the last couple of days. As you can see, we've only got 1 plant in each, because as they come up and reach a decent size, 9 times out of 10, 1 plant will overtake the other. So you can just pinch off the weaker one and leave the others to grow on. In that case, you can see that there's a little bit of a difference between these 2 plants, and they're just competing for growing space. So it's just a case of getting that smaller one and just pinching that top off, leaving us just the 1 plant in there now. So now that job's done, and we're going to take these back indoors, get them back on that heat mat, and encourage them to grow on a little bit more. And talking of heat mats, it's another question that was asked. Are they cheap to buy? And also, are they cheap to run? And the answer to that is yes to both questions. If you go on eBay or Amazon, you can usually pick them up for about £10 or £12 for the little ones that I use, which are perfect if you're just trying to start off a few peppers, which is the only reason we use them. And they cost pennies to run, so that's not an issue either. We've also had a bit more advancement on that basil. That's starting to fill out a little bit now. And if you remember, I told you I'd got a few more pepper seeds that we'd soaked than I actually needed. And as it turns out, if you look amongst that basil, we did chuck them in there. And you can see right there, 2 of those have also germinated, just there. And then there's that one, which is quite a bit bigger. And if I just dig in a little bit, I can see that there's at least 5 pepper plants that's trying to grow amongst this basil. And of course it's only in a little margarine tub, but it has done well. And that distinctive basil scent is getting stronger every day as well. So what we need to do with these now is move them on. We could try and separate out these peppers as well, just to see if we can get some extra plants out of it. But I think for the moment, I'm just going to dig those out, put them into a bigger pot. And by doing that, we're going to get faster growth. We also need to think about moving those Chinese cabbage. They're getting to quite a good size now. I only want a couple, because I'll just use them for salads. But at the moment, they're not getting attacked by slugs, which is good. We lost a lot to slugs last year. Apart from repotting that basil to give it more space to grow, I'm going to be looking at that container garden as well, because we're setting that back up this year, but we are going to do it a little bit bigger than we did last time. So I'm selecting 2 separate spaces for just container gardening this year, and that's based on the fact that we are supposed to be moving. So there's not much point in me setting up loads and loads of root tunnels of plants to realise all of a sudden we've got a property and we need to move. If they're in containers, we can take them with us. So that's how our container garden area looks at the moment. If you saw videos last year, you'll remember it was full of containers of stuff that we harvested. At the moment, we haven't set it back up. We just left that strawberry tower in place, because that'll just come back with fresh growth in early spring. And then rest on it, we'll start setting up benches again quite soon in preparation. But what I'm also going to do, apart from this area that we used, is I'm going to adopt this one as well this year, which is still looking a bit worse for wear due to those storms. So what I'll do is I'm going to put a few benches in there, clear all this stuff out, and we'll use the side of that shed as well, and we'll use that for hanging baskets, so that's a bit extra, making use of vertical growing. I'll set up a couple of benches there, we'll have loads of containers on the floor, so we're going to have quite a bit of extra room for his container garden this year. But at the moment we're just contemplating setting things up and what we want where, and I'm pretty sure over the next couple of weeks we'll have that done, as well as that damage repaired that we still haven't got round to. Cabbage is still trying away. Get some of these off. They're no good to it. Just trying to keep the bottom of this plant as clear as I can, especially while it's trying. You can see we've got a bit extra space this year, so we can do even more container gardening, because it did go really well, and it also seems very popular with people. So apart from doing it again, we're going to do it even bigger this year. At least if we do decide we have to move at any point from now on, we can take all the containers with us. And as for that basil, I've just found one of those pots. It's a nice deep square one. So what I'm going to do is just basically transfer everything into this pot. I'm not going to bother trying to save those peppers, although I could if I wanted, but because we've got such good germination from them trays, we don't really need them. And I'd rather disturb the roots of that basil as little as possible. So I think one of these is going to be enough to transplant all that into in one clump, and we'll try and bring it on once again indoors. So just a quick fill on that pot, leaving a couple of inches from the top. Not sure how this basil is going to come out or what the root system's like as well, but we're about to find out. So it should be pretty straightforward. I'm just going to try and take that out in one clump. You can see we've got a nice bit of root system going on there. So carefully, I'm just going to squash it into that pot basically. We're not going to get it perfect, and we're probably going to bury a couple of plants, but they are quite resilient. We just need to give these plants that little bit of extra growing space. And then I'm just going to infill around that edge a little bit, just to top it up. If them peppers get any bigger, I'll probably just pinch them off. So give that a little bit of a shake. There we go. That's his basil potted on. Now we don't have to worry about it for quite a while because it's got loads of space. But we will remember to take this back indoors. I'll give that a quick water and then we'll reuse that for something else quite shortly. So there you go, 2 minutes and it's potted on. It smells amazing. We'll get these together and we'll get them tucked back indoors. Definitely don't want to leave these peppers out and have another disaster pending. So if you're not quite sure what to do over the next couple of weeks, we have got that playlist that we made last year and it covers every month through the year. So you know exactly what to sow and what to grow each month as it comes. And you can then get your seeds in advance ready for that. So you could always pop over to that playlist, click on the January one and see what we were doing at this time last year. It's a good reference to have, especially if you're just starting out and gardening this year. And I know a couple of people have said that's what they're doing, which is brilliant. So I'm going to get these together. We're going to make some more plans for that bigger container garden that we're doing this year. And we'll just keep moving these plants on until we can get them into the final pots and hopefully have a bit more luck with peppers than we did last year. Although we did get a few, it wasn't amazing. And also make sure you keep these as high as possible and covered up if you can, because those slugs will definitely make short work of them. I'm going to pop that cover back over the top, try and stop things getting in there causing damage. So for now, that's me done again, but I'll be back very shortly and we'll start getting that new container garden set up. Take care.